You recording in Audacity?
Yeah. Yeah, I got it. March 22nd, 2017. This is Atlanta Weekly, Atlanta United FC Weekly, episode number 3. Week 3 of the MLS season is over. And then, yeah.
One hell of an intro, man.
Yeah, I like it.
I sound so nasally tonight. I know it.
Yeah, it's the sweet allergies, man.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful.
Yeah.
But it'll be all right.
Regardless.
Power through it.
Power through it. I got my cold brew. You got your water.
I'll be snotting and coughing, I'm sure, some. So
yeah.
Bear with us. But thanks for coming back. Thanks for checking us out. Week 3, like you said. Atlanta United squaring off against Chicago Fire here in Atlanta.
I am Tim Herb, and this is Kevin Bradley, my lovely co-host. We also host another show called Home Before Dark, and we've been doing it for about 3 years. This is 3 weeks. No, we've been doing it 4 years. This is 3 weeks of MLS.
Right. Big discrepancy between coming up on our 100th episode on Home Before Dark and our 3rd episode with a new show.
Yeah, but thank you guys for all the love and the support. I mean, you guys have made already this show, a very, a big show for us.
Yeah, we keep getting questions and excitement from friends and other people that we don't know on Twitter and stuff. You can find us on Twitter collectively at Home Before Dark. That's before spelled B and the number 4. You can find us both independently as well. If you just go to the show page, you'll see us on there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got a new little new thing we want to try out. We actually set up a voicemail calling service with Google Voice. If you guys want to call in, let us know what you think of the show, or not the show, the recent week of an MLS. Anything that you guys want to talk about, let us know about anything. Just anything that jumps out to you guys about the team, about the MLS, what's going on. You guys can call in 678-827-3297, and we'll play some of your guys' voicemails on the air.
I went really quick. Say it again.
It is 678-827-3297. That'll be in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
We don't want to tweet it out because you'll end up getting a lot of spam calls, a lot of robot calls, people calling you. And
I'm getting enough of that from refinancing my house. So
yeah,
I don't
it's fun stuff.
Yeah.
So so week 3 is in the books. We had most of the games were on Saturday, and then we had the Sunday night game between 2 of the biggest clubs in MLS,
and the next
Seattle and
team
New York.
up for Atlanta as well.
Yeah, exactly. Seattle Sounders next Sunday. 10 o'clock. No, it's next Friday. Sorry. Yeah, we're playing on a Friday.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one to go watch, though. That'll be on a Friday night. That's a good bar watching right there.
Yeah, we're gonna be watching it at a pub somewhere in Atlanta.
Yeah, definitely.
So come find us. We'll tweet out where we're going, or you guys tweet us where you think we should go. I don't know what the supporters pubs are. Kevin and I are very
adaptable.
uninformed.
Yeah, and adaptable.
And adaptable. Yeah. I was going more with the uninformed thing.
Yeah.
So
I definitely fit the mold on that one.
Anyway, so before ooh, Kevin.
It's bad, man. I can't help it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So we had a pretty action-packed weekend. So we started off the week week 3 MLS with, what did we have? 3 teams that were perfect.
Yep.
4 teams, I guess. If you count Orlando was 1-0. You had Portland was 2-0. We had Houston, San Jose, and then New York Red Bulls.
New York Red Bulls, right.
So,
and Chicago Fire hadn't lost yet.
That's true. Yeah.
I think we had a couple of those.
Yeah. New York City FC too.
Right.
They came in 1-1 or 1-0-1.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So we are now only having 2 teams, 1 in each division or 1 in each conference. You have Portland, who are still undefeated after a 4-2 game against Houston, where they were able to put an L on Houston's record. And then also you have Orlando. First of all, let's put something out there. Orlando is not the South.
No, Florida is a different continent.
Florida is not the South. So
you might get by on like Florida Georgia line or something like that. But Orlando, I don't.
Northern Florida. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think biscuits and gravy and think, oh yeah, Orlando.
Yeah.
Or barbecue. Oh, Orlando,
No.
definitely.
Florida is New York City South is the
Right.
way I think of it. It's like all the shitbirds from New York City that end up going down to Florida, or snowbirds. You got snowbirds and shitbirds.
True.
And then north of, say, Orlando, you got Jacksonville, Ocala, and all those that in Gainesville. You got the kind of country.
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah.
Gets real country real quick.
Yeah,
That's south. I think that's south.
No, so it's kind of an important point on to talk about. Kind of got into it a little bit with this guy. I don't even remember his name. I don't want to do it justice.
I didn't get roped into it. Don't rope me into it now. I was not a part of any of this.
Yeah. So this guy got a little upset when he was talking about people being so, I don't know. I guess an MLS reporter was getting asked if Atlanta's environment, or if Seattle, if the Seattle game on Sunday was going to compare to the Bobby Dodd environment.
Right.
And this guy got really butthurt about something this guy said.
What do you say? Like we're the kings of the South or something like that?
Something like we're the only real MLS team in the South.
Oh yeah.
And this guy got really like sore. There's this, and we were watching the MLS recap show on YouTube, and there is this like plastic fantastic guy. I mean, it's this guy wearing a U.S. men's national team, hater blockers on, like throwing up a 4, looking like an absolute douche.
Right.
And this guy used it as the example of like what Atlanta fans are, and started calling us plastic, which is hilarious because this team has played 3 games.
Right.
We have
no reputation whatsoever. At this
no,
point.
Exactly.
If anything, we're creating one.
Yeah. And there was nothing around the South, even Orlando, who's only been around 2 seasons.
And they just got their stadium their stadium just opened this week, right?
Yeah. So for people to talk about Atlanta, people filling out Bobby Dodd being plastic because they didn't want to be a part of the Orlando team.
Yeah.
That's absolutely absurd to me.
I agree.
And it also because Orlando's not the South.
Having come from Orlando a week ago, Atlanta's just a better city. Let's just be honest.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Let's not bullshit here.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have to take an overnight trip to get from my house down to another part of the city to go to a game. The 60-mile difference in between spot to spot across Orlando.
Yeah. So speaking of that, let's go to the Seattle game. Clint Dempsey scores a PK.
Yep.
Jordan Morris scores a header. And then
also
deflection off of.
Like, I don't want to pull for Seattle, but God, I love that Xbox jersey.
Yeah, it's nice.
I really wish we had a fun sponsor like that. Like, why couldn't we get PlayStation or Coca-Cola, man? Why don't we have Coca-Cola sponsoring Atlanta?
Why don't we
or Delta?
We don't have Coca-Cola. We don't have Delta.
Lowe's,
we don't have
Equifax,
Chick-fil-A, Home Depot, dude. Not
Lowe's. Home Depot. Yeah, Hammer. Always go Hammer.
Yeah, always. I hope they bring the Home Depot races. No, but really, you think about all the crazy big corporations that are headquartered here. Even AT&T's mobile department, or their mobile division is here. Rubbermaid. I mean, anything, but we have American Family Insurance, which is okay.
Yeah,
it's okay.
I just think the kit could have looked a lot cooler with a cooler logo.
Well, you think about
a cooler company, like a more. I mean, that's recognizable.
The Chick-fil-A bird. Yeah, the Chick-fil-A bird right in the middle.
Chick-fil-A or Coca-Cola.
But the problem with that is, do you want to go red logo on a red jersey?
Well, the colors would probably be different at that point.
Yeah, I guess wonder if they would buckle. Red. Well, no, not really, because Coke goes white, and Coke's white on the cans. Yeah.
I think we could have made it work.
Yeah,
that's a lot of crazy.
SunTrust even.
Yeah, something.
But American Family Insurance.
Whatever.
Yeah.
All right. So
Angie and I were talking about that. It's like Seattle gets the cool jerseys.
That is definitely the coolest sponsor out of the MLS. I think.
And then Clint Dempsey being on their team, you can't.
And let's be honest, we talked about the opening ceremonies for every team, and Portland's got a pretty cool one, cutting up the big log, sawing through it, and then holding it out to the crowd.
I saw that clip, and it almost looked like somebody in the crowd was about to take a bite out of the piece of wood, which would have been amazing. But so we had Jordan Morris score a pretty decent header. We had I'm trying to remember the guy's name, Johnson, I think, scored the deflection goal, and then Clint Dempsey scored that PK. Bradley Wright Phillips had a fantastic header.
Yes.
To start the game, or for New York Red Bulls' first and only goal,
right?
To equalize. He's still a best striker. I mean, we could talk about Joseph Martinez in a little bit, but I think that David Villa and Bradley Wright Phillips need to be dethroned.
Yeah, Bradley Wright Phillips' goal was insane.
And it's hilarious to me because you look at a couple of these guys that are on the field for either of those teams. You look at Bradley Wright Phillips, who was a washout from England, wasn't as good as his brother, half brother, I can't remember, Sean Wright Phillips. And then you look at one of Seattle's best players, Nicholas Ladero, who lit up the World Cup in 2010, ended up getting a contract with Ajax and kind of fizzled out with them, and then ended up being a marquee signing for Seattle last year, and he's thriving. He's still in his mid-20s. And then Bradley Wright Phillips is not that old either. And so we were talking about that. Go ahead.
So Eric Quintano on Twitter brings up a good point that Atlanta companies really don't gain anything by advertising to people that already live in the city. That's why Delta's sponsoring Seattle. So I get that. Okay, I'll buy it. But I still think
that's true. And Alaska Airlines, I think, is still the sponsor of Portland.
But even still, Xbox is in Seattle. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't.
And Eric Quintana, big shout out to them guys of the Mouth of the South. Go make sure you guys listen to their podcast too. They have great weekly content. Actually, like a couple times a week.
Yeah, definitely. But so back to the point about Xbox. Like they're based out of Seattle. What are any of these companies gaining by advertising on this? It's like the Coke and Pepsi debate, right? How much do they really need to advertise?
That's true. I think
especially in the United States.
Yeah, that's funny. You think about the types of companies in Atlanta that would kind of thrive or kind of benefit really well from having their name on those jerseys. I don't know. You're right, because at this point, what do you put on that jersey? For a company that's trying to get their name out. Right.
No matter what. It's okay.
But at the same time, it's really about, it's about how much money they have to throw at the team too.
I just feel like an Atlanta company on the kit would be just the cherry on top, I think the logo is great. I think the color's great. Obviously the atmosphere and the opening is all that's awesome. But having that last little bit of just Atlanta home on the jersey.
I can't remember who. I can't remember who it was who was talking about hammering home the spike not being great, but it was. I don't get that because I like it.
Yeah,
I really like it.
I liked it a lot. Yeah,
I liked it.
All right, so back to your point. Sorry.
Brad. No, just that's all I was gonna say because we were talking last week. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this hoodie off. You guys can't see me anyway. I'm about to get naked. Anyway, so
sun's out, guns out.
Yeah,
we're rocking the tank tonight.
Yeah, so we were talking last week about. MLS is constantly trying to bring in talent that has, reputation worldwide to help increase the viewership. But at the same time, they have to kind of toe that line to make sure that they're not still being portrayed as or they're not perpetuating an image they did to themselves by being a retirement league. We're talking about Steven Gerrard coming over.
Right.
Robbie Keane lit it up. He was a little older, but you look at Andrea Pirlo.
Yep.
I have his namesake again. My dog named after Andrea Pirlo, and I love the guy to death. He plays no defense.
Yep.
And he's old. He's got to be in his late 30s now. You got to respect that to a point, but at the same time, you gotta hope that they move. But then you start looking at some of these guys just weren't fit for other leagues.
Right.
Josie Altidore,
who had one of the top goals this week for me.
Yeah. So you have Josie Altidore, who for the life of him could not get his feet under him in the EPL, playing for Hull City and playing for Sunderland. But then he would go whenever he went up to Ajax after he played for Hull, he was tearing it up, and then he came back down, played for Sunderland. He was kind of a marquee signing and fizzled out again. Went over to Toronto, tearing shit up. Right.
Yep.
He's doing really well. That's great for us. Great for the U.S. men's national team. And then also you look at Sebastian Giovinco, who really wasn't even a washout in Italy, but came over, still kind of trying to get rid of the stigma. And I don't know. Anyway, there are a lot of great players that I'm starting to figure out, watching week in, week out, you and I are. And some of them are names I recognize from, right. Careers that fizzled out overseas.
Yeah, but I also think it's a really eclectic bunch whenever you look at it. You got a lot of young faces that are getting called up for international play, like the players from Atlanta United right now that are going to play this weekend. And then, like you said, you've got these older guys that have been playing for a while that are coming in. And I think that's pretty unique and pretty special of the MLS, is that you do get some of these familiar faces from some of the European leagues coming and playing in the MLS. And you're seeing these rising stars that are getting the opportunity to play in a league in the MLS and potentially grow that career internationally if they choose to. I can definitely see Martinez growing into that.
Yeah, that's another one. He fits kind of the bill, even though he's 23, 24 years old. He was playing overseas. I did not have the chance to watch him at Torino, but obviously they didn't think highly enough of him to keep him around and kind of make him a focal point of that team.
But he's not at an age where he's washed up either.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like Nicholas Ladero, Bradley Wright Phillips weren't necessarily at a retirement age, but they still kind of washed out of where they were.
Right.
And that might not be because of their talent level. It might be because a team picked them up and they just weren't a fit. You see that in England all the time. You look at my favorite team, Liverpool. We've bought plenty of players, especially Andy Carroll. A panic buy, bringing him over $35 million just didn't fit the bill. Same with Christian Benteke. Right. You look at a lot of players like that. They're not necessarily flops. They're flops for that team because they don't fit that style of play. And now that you bring over Nicholas Ladero, you bring over Bradley Wright Phillips, and then in this case, Joseph Martinez, who was playing for a top side, or I haven't watched Serie A in so long. I want to say Torino is like top half of the table team in Serie A. I may be wrong, but he's playing for them. I think he had about 50 caps for him, single digit goals. He's already about to break that in 3 games for Atlanta. Crazy. So we're a better fit for him. It's also cool to see, I always had this perception of MLS, and it's part of the reason that I didn't really get into it a whole lot, alongside not having a team to want to root for. But had this perception that they were all, physical, boom ball, they were just played out of the back.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to find there are a lot of teams, like it's nice to see that it's like England, where there are teams that are going to play a certain style. And Atlanta's included in that. We already have a marquee style of play. It's that tiki-taka, that Tata Martino is bringing in that.
I'm still cautiously optimistic about Atlanta, and I want to come back to that point. That yes, I feel like they're learning it week to week. And while the 2 wins we've picked up, being tied for first place in the division right now, is awesome. It's great. Let's celebrate. Let's enjoy it.
Hey, let's also clear something up. We're not tied for first. We're first.
Yes,
we got goal differential.
You're absolutely right. But let's look at what really played out over the past 2 games. Like, again, same comment about Minnesota being just that bad comes back up. They just had a pretty good game against Colorado. Like, it ended up being a shootout, but they actually put up some numbers against Colorado that Colorado hasn't given up since 2015. They said.
Yeah, they said they haven't given up more than 1 goal at home. These are stats we're finding out, and they're also figuring out what kind of teams these teams are. It's Colorado Rapids are a stalwart defense team or defensive team, and bringing Tim Howard in.
Exactly, Tim Howard definitely lends a lot to that. But Minnesota, who, again, back to the point we made last week, like, is Minnesota really just that bad? Atlanta comes off of a huge marquee win against them. Minnesota's 0-2 at this point. Now they tie Colorado. Like, still a great win for Atlanta. Like I said, goal differential, we're in first. Now we go to the Chicago Fire game. Chicago Fire, one of the other teams that hadn't had a loss going into this week, they go a man down 11 minutes in. A lot of the concerns I still have about defense haven't been answered based on the fact that Chicago is down a man.
Yeah, let's go back to the MLS stuff later on.
Yeah,
we'll finish this off with our thoughts on the MLS recap, just like goal of the week and all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's get into the game. So you and I we're lucky enough to go to the game on Saturday.
Yeah, which was great. Thank God it's on Saturday. The weather finally cleared up. Really bummed I didn't bring my sunglasses, and then I overdressed because I thought it was going to be really cold.
Yeah.
But yeah,
no, it was fantastic. We all got to stand together, and it was fucking great. It was an amazing atmosphere. Somehow still as loud, if not louder than, when there were 10,000 more people in that stadium 2 weeks prior.
And I definitely noticed a big difference. I don't know if it's because we were at a different gate or what, but getting in was a lot easier. It seemed to flow a lot better within the stadium this week. And I know that they did a lot of improvements in the stadium to make that happen. So
yeah, 100%. So going to that, we go up 1-0
off of the deflection.
Yeah, off of the deflection. Julian Gressel gets put out on the wing, or towards the right side of the box, plays it in, bounces off a defender, goes in.
Right. There's great way to start a game. Just a few minutes.
100%. So to go back to our preview of what we thought of this game, right? We're concerned because Atlanta has a lot of defensive miscues.
Yes,
they have. We've been very critical of Alec Can.
They overexert themselves up top.
Absolutely. And part of what we were worried about is that Chicago, being a veteran team, seeing what they were able to do the week prior, where they were able to very quickly capitalize on mistakes
and punish whenever you've got more than 1 or 2 minutes.
I can't remember who scored their first goal or the other goal, but Alvarez scoring one of their goals.
Yeah.
And it was a fantastic goal, and they were just very quick to pounce on mistakes. And we've been prone. I mean, we gave up the game against New York.
Yep.
And we were both worried about that. We go a goal up, we could breathe a little bit.
Right.
We can play our game. We see them start to pull back a little bit.
Yep.
And then Justin Martinez gets played through.
And then the nerves set in. I think the first game, I mean, just looking back at it, I will say, even though I'm saying let's be cautious about the team that we're seeing play week in and week out with Atlanta 3 weeks in now, it's not some huge ordeal. We're not 20 games in, but still 3 weeks in, even though I'm being cautious, I will also admit the team that we saw this week is a much better team than we saw week 1. And
100%.
And whether that's a result of playing a man up or what it is, I think there's no doubt that a big part of that is that the nerves have settled. They've had a couple of weeks to play together. They see that the city's behind them, and they're putting their stamp on their style of play. I think that's exactly what you said, is that they're finding that style of play. And while they're not addressing every single concern, they are addressing some of them. Being a man up, that lent itself to falling into that trap that Atlanta played against New York Red Bulls, where they're playing super aggressive up top. Playing a man up lends itself to that. You get overly aggressive because you've got numbers.
Yeah, and
you expose yourself,
exactly.
and you're just as susceptible to those quick counters. So a very, very slow-paced, systematic style of play.
It was methodical.
It was absolutely methodical out of Atlanta on Saturday.
And that's why we didn't see a second goal until the second half. I think part of it was wanting to not necessarily push the pace too much.
Yes.
And so we see that red card go through.
Yep.
Get a little closer to the mic.
Oh, I backed up because I was going to come in whenever I got ready to go.
Okay, you're good. So
just because I'm so nasally. See?
Jeez, Kevin. So anyway, we see Joseph Martinez get played through, get pulled back, last man. So let's talk about that. It seemed from your perspective that you did not think that warranted a red card.
I mean, look, those things get so squirrely.
Was it a clear goal? Would it be a clear goal scoring opportunity?
And that's why I changed my opinion, is that while I don't think that it was as flagrant a physical contact as the way Martinez's fall made it out to be, and that had he been a little bit more competitive in that play, he could have played through. That said, it was a clear goal scoring opportunity, and it was the right thing to do, and it was the right call to make at the time. I completely agree with that. This is one of those gray lines that we get in with sports where it's like, yes, they're being extremely physical. It's moving at an extremely rapid pace. And sometimes the fouls are very blunt and they're very scary and it's very real. But other times it's like, just play on. But I also get it. Like, if you're in a breakaway scenario like that, and who am I to say, I'm not Joseph Martinez. I can't make that play, So
yeah, I don't think a lot of people are. So
yeah.
He gets played through, gets pulled down, or pulled back, I should say.
Right.
He didn't get pulled down.
Right.
But to me, that's a clear red.
Absolutely. I agree.
Okay. So that completely changes the game. But again, like you said, we were playing more methodical. So a couple stats, I don't have the exact numbers, but approximate. So a couple staggering things. We completed something over 900 passes.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
And we are the first team in a top flight league, I think, to have more than 80% possession for a game since some statistics started being collected in 2010.
Wow.
It was something like 82% possession or something like that.
I believe it. I mean, you saw it. And that was one of the things we were looking back and forth at each other like, wow, this is exactly what I wanted to see. Like they're really, again, we didn't see any play where Atlanta was forced to be inside the 18 on offense or on defense with 6 people inside the 18.
No.
That didn't take place. So I still have that concern. I think that's a legitimate concern, especially against some really lethal threats against teams like New York or Portland. What a player like David Villa or Adi with Portland can do to a team like this. I mean, we're not going to have to play Portland, but still, I think that concern is very valid and it's still there. But I still really like what I'm seeing out of this team right now. I really do. And as long as they keep making those improvements, it's overly optimistic to think we're going to go undefeated or whatever. But right now, hell, we're at the we're at the top of the division, and it's for good reason. We're making plays when we need to make plays, and we're capitalizing on opportunities whenever they're given.
Okay, table expectations, but I don't think we should. To me, anyway, anything less than the playoffs for this team is a failure.
Shut up.
No, I 100%
You
believe
can't
that.
be serious.
I 100% believe that after 3 games.
You sound like a real Atlanta fan right now.
No, I see the way this team plays, and one of the teams that plays the exact style to beat us just got beat 4-0. Granted, they were playing a man down. Chicago.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago plays the perfect style, right?
Right.
I mean, they play a very counterattack heavy. I mean, they could have they had a couple chances. And I think, the game obviously would have been different if it would have been 11-on-11 the entire match. But I think that the way to me, Parkhurst and Gonzalez Perez in the back are so solid. It's Mears and Garza can make a few mistakes on the wings. The way that those two have started playing together over the past 2 weeks, Gonzalez Perez was amazing in that game on Saturday.
Yes. So what about Can? I mean, what are your thoughts on him right now? I mean, we know he's not going to be here the whole season, but that's his play. It's all of these factors. It's still.
I thought he played a great game on Saturday.
I do too.
He didn't have a lot to do, but one of the times whenever you're playing soccer, one of the times you're most susceptible to giving up a goal is right after scoring.
Exactly.
And we scored. I think it was the second or third goal, and then immediately they push down the field when we're still recovering. And then Can is forced to make a save on a header, and it goes off of their striker and goes out of bounds. I don't know the guy's name, but he made a very good save there. The one thing I will say, though, is he is very slow in distributing the ball. If we're going to play that South American style, if we're going to be playing, local, we're going to be playing local ball. We still have not.
So I think some of that comes to the backfield as well. Like Can's holding onto the ball, but the backfield's got to clear the 18 before he can roll it out.
No, the way where we were standing in the first half, he had a lot of chances to immediately throw it out to Mears, and he and Assad would have been able to push. But not Assad, sorry, Assad's on the left. But
see, I'm still. I don't know. While I agree, like he is taking a little bit too much time to play the ball out, I think it's at least lending itself to less inaccurate plays out of him, like we saw in the first game, based on just trying to make a quick.
So in that case,
out.
you're making my case for me. Yes. But you're saying he is strengthening week in, week out.
Yes,
which
he absolutely is. I said that last week. He's not given up a goal in regulation in 2 weeks now.
What do you say regulation?
3 weeks. Yeah, a PK. Okay,
yeah, he gave up a PK.
Yes, we get that. But still, I think it's a pretty great play. Yes, asterisks from my perspective in playing Minnesota and playing a man up against Chicago, but I still think he's improving. I definitely agree. And while I think that he can play the ball out a little bit quicker, he's still making incredible saves. He made some great saves that back-to-back against Minnesota, and then the great save this week. So he's still, he's playing the position. He's playing it okay right now.
Okay, so Joseph Martinez scores 2 goals. The thing that we talked about him, one of his best attributes is how composed and how compact and how just on point and accurate he is inside of the box. And those 2 goals prove that completely.
His celebration proves that completely, or lack thereof. Yeah. I love it. The celebrations are always the fun part of the game. Whenever it's always something sporadic and fun, but I just love him making that second goal and just glancing to see the angle that he had taken on the ball, not actually watching it hit the net, but knowing that he had it and just doesn't even glance at the goal, stands right in front of the crowd, complete blank stare.
Yeah. So Eric Quintana, again, from Mouse of the South, he just agrees with me. He agrees with me that this is a playoff team. He said he'll understand if they don't, but they definitely should. I agree, because I think the East is weak.
Okay.
You have Atlanta, you have Toronto, you have Orlando, maybe you have NYCFC, and you have Red Bull.
NYCFC looked great this week.
Yeah, they did. And anyway.
But again, that's playoffs. It's not. You're right. Okay.
So Joseph Martinez had the biggest post-game news we'll get to in a minute. To me, the biggest thing from this game was seeing Tito Villalba score a goal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because he was our first designated player that we signed, I do believe. Yep. I may be wrong on that, but he was one of the marquee signings of Boca Negra, and he scored a rocket of a rebound.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to skyrocket his confidence. Mm-hmm. I think that's great. So
I think that's what all these players are getting right now. Again, back to that point about the nerves, playing through it. I think every save that Can gets, every time he clears the box, he's getting that confidence to make that play.
Yeah.
Alva, same thing. He's got a goal, gets a little bit more confidence. I think that's
So,
going to keep building.
Yeah, we were watching. So if we're talking about chemistry, we were watching in the second half. They were coming towards our side, towards our half, and watching. There's still some chemistry to be worked out, I think, with Assad and I want to say maybe Garza, where they were. Yamil Assad doesn't look like he's making runs correctly, and I was getting a little frustrated watching them come towards us on the right side of the right side of the field, and but that's stuff that'll work out, right?
Yeah.
But we have, to me, I wonder how long Tyrone Mears can keep this up at 34 years old. He is running like a horse. He and Garza out of the backfield. It's exactly what they need to do, right, and to play this style of ball. But at the same time, he's getting old. Like he's an older dude. I wonder how long this will hold up before before he has to take a rest. But maybe the international break is coming at a perfect time.
This is true. Absolutely.
Anything else from this game that really stood out to you? Atmosphere. I mean, I got chills like whenever we were doing the back and forth Atlanta United chant, and if you watch any of the footage of people filming that from the sidelines, it's amazing. And
yeah, other than that, I think that pretty much buttons it up for that game.
So biggest thing post game, obviously Joseph Martinez. We talked about it all day that day. We were like, if they don't sign, like it would be the biggest failure of this team if they didn't sign him permanently.
But also the risk that it took that he was going to overprice himself.
Yeah, which the guys at Mouth of the South were kind enough to point out that the permanent deal amount was set in stone from Torino. He wouldn't have been able to play himself out of it, which is fantastic.
Yes, that's absolutely.
And of course, what did they do on Monday? They went ahead or maybe it was yesterday. It was yesterday. They went ahead and just went ahead and sealed that deal with Torino. Yeah, he is ours.
That's awesome.
Whether that's until the end of the season when we turn him over for a bunch of money to somebody in Europe, or if I hope not. I think it would be great to see him stay.
Right.
And
I just think that Atlanta presents such a unique opportunity for players right now. Martinez, especially, to be a marquee player for a brand new franchise and to really be a key signing to put, again, we're talking about this team finding out who they are, what style of play they really want to play, and building that chemistry. You are a cornerstone of that organization in its very first season. Money be damned. Like, that's a pretty awesome opportunity, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And if we end up going to the playoffs, I don't see why not,
Yeah. It's also unique to, or it's not unique, I guess. It just fits very well because of let's be honest, there's a very huge Hispanic community in Atlanta.
Absolutely.
And that marketing, like they have a great opportunity to market him in that capacity too.
Yeah, I think our whole team is. I mean, like, again, back to the MLS and about what it is as a league. Atlanta United is Atlanta at its heart and soul. Like every play, like being from Atlanta and playing,
and then coming to find out that one of my coworkers is his cousin.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
yelling at her for not knowing that.
You've got the hometown hero playing at the back. You've got this international squad of superstars, young and old.
Yeah, we signed another Georgia kid, Andrew Carlton, who hasn't played yet. I don't even know if he's been on the squad yet. I may be mistaken on that, but yeah, you're right, though. I mean, the makeup of this team is fantastic.
And then down to the U.S. men's national team signing. I mean, it's so exciting to be a part of that, and for Martinez to be whatever, like you said, whatever those terms are, whatever he ends up being, I think it's
So that's what's the English soccer fan of me wants to know how much we paid for him.
Yeah.
But in talking to our buddy Christian, who's a big MLS supporter, he said you really won't know anything about those numbers. If you even do know about that transfer deal, you'll know about his salary at least during the player association meetings and the offseason.
So enlighten me here. So I am not familiar with the contracts and signing basis in MLS. Like I know in football, in NFL, there's a salary cap, or the organization has a certain amount that they're allowed to. Okay,
here's the little I do know about the way the MLS is structured. You get 3 designated players that don't go against your salary cap.
Oh, okay.
So for us, I think that's Martinez, Almiron, and Villalba.
Oh, that's pretty key players to.
Yeah, there are certain things that we have to have a certain amount of homegrown players, and you guys feel free to correct us at any point during this, either on Twitter or on whatever, call in, whatever. So we have there is a salary cap. I don't know exactly what that number is, but we have a couple guys that don't take a hit against that. And then we have to have a certain amount of homegrown players from America.
Oh, okay.
We can only have a certain number of international players. So I think some of the savvy that came in with getting some of the guys green cards helped us sign some more international players as well. I think Chris McCann ended up getting a green card, and maybe Kenwin Jones. I can't remember who the second one was. But so if you want to talk about transfers, the way transfers work is if a player is still in contract, you have to pay the team. You have to essentially pay the team the rights to negotiate a contract with him. So we paid Torino. Actually, Torino said, in this case, it's a loan. I don't know if you're too familiar with loans.
Right.
A team wants to either get a young player experience, or they just need to offload that player's salary just for a season to try and move him. So in this case, I imagine, Torino wanted to move him,
get him some more experience because he wasn't marketable for them.
Yeah, exactly. So gave him, we worked out a loan deal with Torino. Atlanta took him on, paying his salary. That's usually how a loan deal works. Is the team who takes on the loanee pays for the salary, or at least parts of the salary, because a lot of times, like I said, it's either a young player or it's a really bad contract and the player's not doing well. And the team wants to get that off of their books. So we were able to get him, and then so you pay in a standard transfer. You pay to talk to the team or to negotiate with the player, and then you pay for that player's salary.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I would really like to know what that permanent deal figure is for Joseph Martinez. But at any rate, it's definitely worth it, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
As long as it's nothing stupid, crazy.
Right.
But anyway.
So you mentioned it, international play. We're on break this week.
And then next week too. So we have World Cup qualifying going on and some international friendlies for those teams, I think, that aren't going to be doing World Cup qualifying right now. We have.
So before we get on, because we're going to talk about a little bit more MLS, some of our goals of the week, some other key plays and moments in MLS. But now that we're jumping off of Atlanta United for the time being, if any of you guys want to scratch that itch, since there is no game this weekend, of course, U.S. men's national team plays Friday night at 10:30, right?
Yeah.
Eastern
10:30
Eastern time.
Yeah.
And then
against Honduras.
Carlos Carmona playing with Chile is playing against Argentina at 7:30 on March 23rd.
So that's Thursday. That's tomorrow. Yeah.
Kenwin Jones with Trinidad and Tobago playing Panama at 7 o'clock. All these times are in Eastern on March 24th. So that's, what is that? Saturday? Friday?
That's Saturday.
Or
no, that's Friday. Yeah, you're right. It's
Okay.
Friday. So the CONCACAF games happen on Friday. CONMEBOL, the South American games happen on Thursday.
Then Almiron with Paraguay playing against Ecuador, 7 o'clock on March 23rd. And then Martinez with Venezuela playing Peru at 7:30 on March 23rd as well.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. So you're new to soccer, and at least to watching club ball.
Yep.
You get to hold your collective breath with us now as we hope that none of these players get
injured. Exactly.
Yes, that is always the biggest thing about the international break, aside from, what are we going to do this weekend, right? That's one of the biggest things. Two things with international break that I hate: not having club soccer to watch, and then having to worry about injuries.
Yeah.
But it's great that Joseph Martinez's play has gotten him a call up with Venezuela, and then also Almiron going to, getting called up for Paraguay. I mean, think about Carlos Carmona playing for Chile, and Chile is one of the best teams in South America.
Right.
And I don't know. I'm excited to see what they do on that stage, especially since there's actually something on the line. It's not international friendlies.
Right.
It's for them. It's World Cup qualifying.
Right.
And we don't have any U.S. players
U.S.
on this
is
team
pretty
right now.
much has to win this week too.
Yeah, I think I really
the statistical improbabilities of them continuing if they lose this week
which would be insane.
A little scary, because it's been 50 World Cups that the U.S. has been a part of, or something.
Would it be
like
30 something? I think.
I don't know, some absurd amount. It's crazy.
I'm trying to think of what it is, but maybe it's not that many. It's close though.
But yeah. Okay, so around MLS, we talked
Bradley
a little bit.
Wright Phillips had a great goal.
Yes. So you want to run through some of your tops?
Yeah, to me, either Benny Feilhaber's goal from the right side looked like a cross going in, and just we'll have to pull up. I don't know if you watched the Gold Cup game years and years ago when Benny Feilhaber had this amazing volley against Mexico that ended up beating. Anyway, we'll have to watch that. Urruti. Yeah, the angle that he had.
That's
right
definitely the better goal than
yeah.
I think that's a comparable goal to Martinez's goal, and that they had just this absurd angle to cut the ball in between the keeper and the post, and he just sails it into the top of the net.
Yeah,
just gorgeous.
I mean, there were a lot of great headers.
Yeah, I've also got Rodney Wallace's heel for New York City, because not only did he get the heel for the assist,
And then he
after
ended
the
up getting the
shot, gets the
rebound, yeah.
deflection, follows through,
Yeah.
gets the actual goal. Just beautiful play. And then Josie Altidores under triple coverage, top of the 18.
Yeah,
cuts
that was
all
pretty
three.
great too.
Pretty nice, yeah.
So you want to talk about the East? You'll have, like we were saying, we're one of the better teams in the East. Even when I think whenever everything probably, again, I don't know, maybe it's just my naivety with not having watched enough MLS in years past, but I feel like this team, from watching them, is definitely poised to be in the top half of the table and to go to the playoffs. Because you look at the standings in the East, and right now you have Atlanta and Orlando at the top, and we're both at 6 points. New York.
Do you know when we play Orlando?
New York Red Bulls is I do not. New York Red Bulls is at 6 points also. Toronto at 5 points. New York City at 4 points. Chicago at 4 points. Columbus Crew at 4 points. And then you go down and you have winless teams like Montreal, Philadelphia. DC looks terrible. And then the Revolution don't look good either.
I mean, excuse me. Yes, DC looks terrible, but they still do have some pretty nice. Like, they came back with a little bit of a resurgence in that second half. Had a couple of nice.
They just can't finish.
No, exactly.
Yeah. And then Columbus looks like a shell of the team that I remember watching, in the little bit of MLS I have watched in the years past. But
yeah, I agree with that. So I'm trying to find when we play Orlando, because after all this hype now, I really need to see when that game is, because I'm hoping that it's as competitive and hyped still as it is right now.
We actually play them in back-to-back weeks. We play them July 21st and then July 30th.
Interesting.
So we play at Orlando on July 21st, and then we come back to the Mercedes-Benz Dome, Mercedes-Benz Stadium on July 30th to play Orlando.
When is our first game in Mercedes-Benz? Do you know?
I want to say it is.
That actually
might be the first game.
That'll be so fun.
Oh man, yeah.
The real title of the South right there.
Oh God, Orlando is not the South.
If you can find a good barbecue place in Orlando, let me know.
Yeah, if you can find anything good in Orlando, let me know.
Same.
Even their Fogo de Chao doesn't touch the Fogo de Chao in Atlanta.
They do have Wizarding World of Harry Potter, so I'll give them that. Wizarding World of Harry Potter over World of Coke any day.
Yeah.
I'll give them that.
Yeah, probably. World of Coke is. I've still never even bothered to go there.
Yeah, complete waste.
Been here for 7 years, and everybody's just.
I mean, it's cool. It's just tchotchkes. It's basically a Zaxby's filled with Coca-Cola stuff, and then you get to go to make your own drink machine, but it's just.
Well, they already have that at Moe's.
Exactly. I wish they had some food or something.
Moe's could have been another team that sponsored Atlanta.
Oh yeah, it could be. Yeah.
They too bad I don't like
gross.
Too bad I don't like Moe's anymore.
That sounds awful. I'd rather be any other sponsor. I take back what I said earlier. If Moe's is the option, I don't want this anymore. Take it back.
Not when you get Willie's. That's also Atlanta based.
Is that Atlanta based?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
And then you have other focus brands, right? So you have what is it? Shane's Rib Shack, I think, and then Carvel ice cream.
Ooh,
I've still never had Carvel.
I had some at JP's birthday party.
Is that what we were eating? No, no. That was always yeah. They get the cheap stuff.
Fudgy to whale. That fudgy to whale though.
So we have Seattle coming up next Friday, which will be interesting.
Yep.
To be out at 10:30 at night watching soccer.
Gonna be past your bedtime.
Oh yeah.
It's like it's past my bedtime at that point. You've been staying up way later than I have been of late. I've been old man in it by 11:30. I'm just dead.
I think. Do you have anything else for this? I mean,
so I do have one last thing. So did you run through the standings in the West?
I didn't run through the standings in the West. I did want to say that we're getting a little bit. So I use the Score, which is Canada's version of ESPN. It's the app is a less bulky. It runs a lot better. And looking at the power rankings that they have, let me see if I can pull them back up.
Atlanta and Portland are at the top, right?
No.
Wait, what?
I felt very disrespected in looking at the
last article I saw had Portland and Atlanta at the top.
Well, it depends on where you get your news from, right? Because it would make sense because I can't find it right now. But they had and there's one more thing I wanted to cover. So they had Portland number 1. And then I want to say Orlando 2.
Uh-huh.
And then Toronto 3, even though Toronto's 1-0-2.
Really?
Yeah, hold on. Give me just a
I can
second.
argue-
Say what you need to say.
can-
No, here we go. I found it.
Say what you need to say.
This is the welcome back to the John Mayer podcast. Play the fight riff. So Portland at number 1, FC Dallas at number 2, which I could see.
Yeah, I can definitely see Dallas.
They're 2-1. They're
Absolutely.
very dangerous. They have a better record than we do, and they look like a great team.
Yes, they absolutely do.
Toronto at 3, which to me is a little deceiving. I don't know. They did go to the MLS Cup final last year against Seattle.
True.
They're 1-0-2.
True.
They looked very good in their last game. And then Seattle at 4. I'm okay with that, even though they're 1-1-1. They're still, I mean, they're the defending champions.
Yep.
And then New York.
And they were on the road the first 2 weeks of the season. So.
Yeah, New York Red Bulls at 5.
Or was that Portland on the road 2 weeks of the season? I think it was Portland, maybe. Yeah, Portland's on the road.
And then Atlanta at 6.
6. See, I don't get that.
It doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't.
Because if you're talking about current form, we're playing better than New York Red Bulls. I think one of my favorite tweets, if I can find it, is somebody posted, "I'm still really mad about this Atlanta team losing to that trash New York Red Bulls team."
Yeah, so I don't know. Again, we're 3 weeks in. It goes back to a lot of stuff that we talked about tonight anyway. So
feeding into that retirement league, another thing, Bastian Schweinsteiger was signed by Chicago. I'm not sure exactly when he gets to play. I think it's soon, which was kind of baffling to me because the whole deal with Brad Guzan not being able to play until July, yet the EPL season's over in May.
I did have one other thing I thought about. As soon as you mentioned Chicago Fire, it made me think about their fans.
Yeah, so both sides of the spectrum with their fans. Really just one of their fans at the good side of the spectrum.
Which always ruins the reputation for all of them.
Yeah, so we're sitting in, we're actually right across the walkway from the Chicago supporters.
Yeah.
We've been jeering them all game.
Yeah.
They're jeering us.
They're jeering us too, exactly.
Yeah, they're talking about 20 years, we're still here, whatever.
Right,
I mean, we're an expansion team. You can't really say that shit to us.
Right.
And then towards the end, you're jingling your keys at them.
Waving by.
We're waving. Yeah.
That's the best sports taunt, I think. Just take a whole stadium. That was one of my favorite moments in a Clemson game was whenever we beat FSU and everybody takes it. Everybody in the stadium's got their keys out.
We're all chanting, nah, 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 hey, goodbye, whatever. And this Chicago fan gets really pissed off.
Yeah.
Takes his beer, throws it probably 4 or 5 rows down from us, throws it at this girl and this guy and his girlfriend.
Just ridiculous.
They're jawing back and forth like they're gonna fight. But then there's the guy from Chicago, their fans that was kind of taunting us, but at the same time was
giving high fives on the way out.
He's like, no, seriously, good shit. Good luck the rest of the season.
Exactly.
And being a good sport.
Yeah.
And that was a little annoying. But
I forgot all about that until just now. Okay, so I did have one last topic. What are we doing on time? What are we at?
Oh, I have no idea. Yeah. I don't think it matters right now.
No, it doesn't. Okay. So I saw an article in Atlanta Magazine today that raised the question of, is it time for Atlanta to get another women's soccer team again? Because it hasn't had one since 2012.
My friend Angela played for them, the Atlanta Beat.
Right.
Yeah, who were playing up in Kennesaw State's stadium.
It's
the problem that is a great point, but the problem with that is, in following her career, seeing how often these women's teams go under, how often these leagues, not just the women's teams themselves, go under. And I mean, you have some of their best players going now to go play overseas. I can't remember who. Carly Lloyd, I think, is going over and playing in England now. And then
isn't that the same thing with the WNBA? Don't most of the players go and play in Spanish leagues?
Well, I think some of them, like Sue Bird and I want to say Diana Taurasi, are playing over in Russia. They get paid better over there, and the competition ends up being better too. Yeah. So I don't know if that's it's stigmatic or what that.
Well, the article I read, I mean, that's interesting to hear about everything else, because really the article just talked about the fan base and how attendance was really low. But with the huge surge of fandom for Atlanta United men's team, is it time to revisit that as an option?
Well, I think it's a difficult prospect.
I think it's ultimately, at least my point of view is, you really need to wait and see how long this is
a very sensitive subject, because you don't want to borderline you don't want to try you don't
want it to be oversaturation on the market for
you
one.
Also any point of view that you have that is perceived somewhat negative towards that team is going to be perceived as sexist.
Exactly.
And that's not at all what we're trying to say. I want a team to thrive in this city.
I'm glad you picked up on that because I was very hesitant to say anything about it. That because of that exact point. Like I don't want it to sound sexist or that women can't play sports.
No, and
I
don't think that we need to tiptoe around that either, because anybody who knows us knows we're not like that.
But I think it's a bigger issue than just attendance. But
I think also part of the reason that this Atlanta United team is so big in the city is we've had 2 years of buildup.
True.
We have some marquee people in the organization. True. Between Tata Martino and then you have Carlos Bocanegra, and you have a great marketing team that really built this up. We got some marquee players and then it's a league that's growing. Right. And I don't know.
I think it may be partially, like you said, it's a league issue more so than just a city issue as well.
Right. Watching these women's leagues fold you're watching men's leagues fold too. I don't remember if it's NASL or USL, but like whenever the New York Cosmos went under, it like just had a huge detrimental effect to this league.
Right.
So part of the reason that the Atlanta United's doing so well is the stability and the growth of the MLS right now. I mean, we're getting into it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're probably the people they're trying to bring in.
Right. Hardcore sports fans for other sports that have a strong city alliance with Braves, Falcons, Hawks, Pacers for you, obviously, but tend to follow along those trends. Clemson for me, like we're those kinds of sports fans that we get behind our city, we get behind things, and we build these allegiances that we watch game in and game out. You're absolutely right. Like we're of that age, we're of that demographic that we're definitely part of that group.
Yeah, exactly. And from my point of view, being an EPL fan, like a hardcore fan watching English football, but without
a team in the U.S. to be tied to.
Yeah, exactly. And being able to pull those people over.
Right.
I'm not going to be tied to Orlando FC.
Nah.
Orlando City. Nah. I don't care about them.
Nah.
That's not the South.
Nah.
This isn't a rivalry.
No.
It has to be competitive for it to be a rivalry.
Yeah, I completely agree. So with that note, I think that pretty much buttons it up for us here at Atlanta United FC Weekly. Pardon me for just a second. Still nursing this cold / allergy / nonsense. No matter what I'm doing, thank you guys for spending your night, spending your day, spending your commute, whatever it may have been with us here at Home Before Dark. You can find us both on Twitter. Tim, where can they find you at? You
can find me at Tim Herb.
You can find me as well at The Architect. That's at _ARC, the number 1 TECT. Go check our website out at gethomebeforedark.com. And you can find us collectively on Twitter at Home Before Dark, spelled B and the number 4. As always, be home before dark. With the spirits above.